matter and your dream matter, and that is the truth. No matter what anybody says, don't you dare forget it.
What's up, everybody? We got 2 words for you today. 2 words, here they are. Higher standards. Higher standards. Now, a standard is nothing more than a level of accountability. It's an articulation of what you will and will not allow in your life. And I want to challenge you today to have higher standards. I want you to become a snob about what you allow in your life and what you will not allow in your life. I want you to be a snob about it. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody says about you. I want you to be a snob, and this is why. Because you and your dream are worth fighting for. You are worth protecting. You are worth fighting. You are worth giving the stiff arm to anything and everything that will harm you. You are worth giving the stiff arm to anything that wants to bring you down. Because listen, the moment that you increase your standards, the moment that you raise your standards, you increase your success. The moment that you raise your standards, you raise your level of success. And it's not just some mind switch. It's not just some mind game that I'm trying to get you to play. What happens when you change your mindset? What happens when you raise the level to which you hold yourself accountable? You change what you allow in your life. You revoke access to things that are harmful, to drugs and to alcohol, to bad relationships, to bad friendships. You revoke access to the things that try to pull you down, and you say, I am worth more than what you're trying to give me. I am worth more. And so you revoke access. When you raise your standards, you change the way that you see yourself. You change the way that you view yourself. Because if you view yourself as small, you're gonna act small. If you view yourself as unworthy, you're gonna act unworthy. If you view yourself as not enough, you are gonna act that no matter what happens, you'll never be enough. But the moment you make a switch, the moment that you change in your mind the way that you see yourself, who you allow to speak into your life, you change the way you act, because as you think, so you act. And so if you think big, you're gonna act big. If you think that you're enough, you're gonna act like you're enough. If you believe that you are worthy, then you are gonna live as if you are worthy of the very best, of the very highest standard, that those things are not just reserved for the elite, but they are reserved for you. When you change your mind, you change the way that you act. Listen, if you don't like the way that your life is going, if you don't like the output of your life, then change the input. If you don't like what you're getting out of your life, then change what you're putting in. Because listen to me, this is important. Nobody is in charge of what goes into your life but you. And what that means is that nobody's in charge of what comes out of your life but you. So if you don't like what's coming out, then change it. You're in control. You are the boss. Change what comes in and you'll change what goes out. I remember my freshman year of college. I had this experience where I believed deep down inside that I was the strongest guy on the team. And yet every time we would bench press, every time we would max out, I would hit this threshold, this level that I just could not get past, and it drove me nuts. I'm talking, I went crazy. It festered inside like a blister in my soul, and I couldn't rest at night, and it drove me crazy. And so finally I realized that nobody was in charge of my bench press but me. Nobody was in charge of what I allowed in. Nobody was in charge of what my standard of heavy was except for me. So I raised my standards. And when I raised my standards, I raised my success. You see, what happened was I stopped lifting with guys who thought 245, 255, 275 was heavy. And I started lifting with guys that lifted with 3 plates and 325 and 335. I started lifting with guys that were stronger physically and stronger mentally. And the moment I made that switch, my bench press shot up. Not because I all of a sudden became some superhuman Hulk master. What happened was I changed my mind. I increased my level of standard, and so I increased my level of success. And listen to me, what happened for me will happen for you. And it's not just a bench press, it's not just a sports thing, it's a life thing. Because the moment you raise your standards, the moment that you raise your level of accountability, the moment you change the way that you see and think about yourself in the world, what happens is you begin to train differently. You begin to study differently. You begin to treat people differently. You begin to work out differently. And the moment that you increase the level of your training, you become more successful. Because what happens when all hell breaks loose in life? What happens when you get in the kitchen and the heat is turned up? What happens in that moment is that you will default not to your expectations, not to what you hope, not to what you think, but to what you train for. You will always default to your training, not your expectations. And so that's why higher expectations are so important, because the higher your expectations, the higher your accountability, the higher your training. You always default to your training. Increase your level of standard, you'll increase your level of success. I'm gonna tell you right now, the day that your life will change forever is the day that you change what you demand for yourself. The day that you realize that you are worth the very best that you could dare imagine, more than you could dream or ask or hope for. The moment you realize that, you change what you demand of yourself and you change your level of success. I'm telling you right now, you want success in the game of life. It has nothing to do with higher hopes, higher expectations. It has everything to do with higher standards. Let's have a good one today.